My father passed away a year ago. My mother used to be really depressed and couldn't be left alone, but lately she's started to laugh more and is gradually starting to show signs of recovery. My spouse took independent action, which caused a lot of chaos in our home, just as our family was starting to settle down. I suppose there's no issue because I've already informed your mom about my parents' leg trouble, and she stated it's okay for us to use this area. Undoubtedly, there is a problem. The Owen family is shown here. Why are you taking us out while you and your family unwind? My spouse moved his parents, who had been residing with his brother and sister-in-law, into our house for an unknown reason. My father's chamber, which had not been used in a long time, was even accessed without authorization. Our home has grown uncomfortable because of my husband, who does as he pleases, and his careless parents. My mother has been going outside more lately. This can't happen. I have to get his parents out of this place, no matter what. This is the account of how, following the death of my father, my husband and his parents nearly inherited the house. This year I turn 40 years old. My name is Luna. When I was 28, I wed Wayne. Because of my sickness, working outside is challenging for me. When I was younger, I worked at a corporation, but later I had to work from home to make ends meet because of my fluctuating health condition, which frequently caused difficulty to others. My income is not consistent each month, though, as it depends on my health. It is challenging to live alone because of this volatility. I was dependent on my parents till I got married because they worked and earned money to help with domestic duties in between. Wayne and I moved into a leased apartment together after we were married. We were able to amass money over time and intended to buy a house eventually. But when Wayne informed his parents that his brother had constructed a two-family house so that he could live with them, everything drastically altered. My parents then proposed that we move in with them while they planned a significant makeover of their home. My parents worried about my inconsistent income and its monthly swings. They were uneasy about the rental flat we were living in and concluded that it would be hard for the two of us to own a house. Although I sincerely appreciate my parents' offer, cohabiting with a spouse's parents is not always simple. Though I was thinking about it, I made an effort to be considerate of Wayne's viewpoint. He enthusiastically welcomed the idea of living together because my parents would cover all the costs. We lived together, the four of us, for the next 10 years or so, and I thought we got along very well. My father was stern, so my normally easygoing husband was wary around him, and my parents avoided getting involved until it was just the four of us. Thanks to my parents' support, we were able to maintain a peaceful married life, free from major disagreements, even though we didn't have a steady income or the ability to start a family. I promised to return the favor at some point. I was filled with thankfulness since I had earned the right to receive nursing care should the need arise in the future. But before I could make use of this qualification, my father unexpectedly died of a heart attack. My mother lost weight, lost her appetite, and became sick, often because she was unable to accept reality. I made every effort to maintain my tight relationship with my mother as a result. It was during this period that Wayne started to exhibit increasingly odd behavior. Our house was expanded from 2 stories to 3 stories 10 years ago during renovations. My father's study was in the storeroom, and the first floor contained a bedroom and bathroom only for them. The family's common kitchen, laundry area, and bathroom were located on the 2nd level. My parents utilized the living area next to the kitchen the most, and the 3rd level was all ours as a couple. We had 2 rooms that served as our living room and bedroom, as well as our own bathroom. We could live mostly on the 3rd level, with the exception of going downstairs for meals and bathing. Wayne had lived this way all along, but suddenly, with the death of my father, he began to spend more time on the 2nd level. Why are you on the 2nd floor watching TV? Isn't this Mom's territory? Wayne maintained. It's okay to use this place since she's in the bedroom right now, in spite of my several warnings. Wayne began spending a lot of time in the 2nd floor living room every day. using the fact that the refrigerator is located there as an excuse. My mother, being the restrained person, avoided going up to the second level once she realized he was there. Wayne refused to accept it, even after I talked to him about it. Wayne started acting egotistically when my father passed away, and our arguments increased. We didn't talk much after we had so many arguments. 1 year after my father's death, my mother, who had been largely housebound, started venturing out more frequently, which was a relief when something horrible happened. One evening, my mother and I came home after shopping to discover that the first-floor storeroom door was ajar. Upon peering inside, I noticed that everything that had been in my father's study was gone. An antique bed and dresser that I didn't recognize took its place. There were also a lot of cardboard boxes stacked up. Curious about why this was happening, I hurried to the living room on the second level. But there were other persons in the kitchen besides Wayne. In the living room, my father-in-law was sipping cocktails with Wayne while my mother-in-law stood there. I called Wayne out into the hallway and asked him about the situation, but he explained I had to call them because Mother wasn't getting along with my brother's wife. I decided to let them use that storeroom. His answer was self-centered. Why didn't you say anything? We haven't been talking recently, and it would have ended up in a fight anyway. Wayne argued that the lack of prior consultation was because our relationship was bad. Where is Dad's stuff? You didn't throw it away, did you? I asked. Yeah, I threw it away. Keeping things that aren't used is meaningless, Wayne replied. Enraged by Wayne's actions, I yelled loud enough for his parents behind the door and my mother downstairs to hear, "Please leave immediately." Put all the discarded items back where they were. Wayne dismissively brushed off the words I spoke in anger. Though he said, all right, he likely wouldn't take any action. In past arguments, he always casually responded and ended the conversation. Please listen to me seriously, I said, raising my voice. I heard someone call out from behind me. Turning around, I saw my mother climbing the stairs, placing her finger to her lips and shaking her head. It's late, so they will stay here tonight, she said, considering my parents-in-law. Even when I tried to talk to Wayne after that, he only dodged the issue, busy taking care of his parents and not facing it head-on. The next morning, the drunken Wayne slept in the living room on the second floor. The table was cluttered with used dishes, and my irritation only grew. Unable to bring myself to start the laundry, I was startled when clothes were thrown at me. Luna, you're commendable for doing your parents' laundry, too. Anna, you know, even though it's a two-family house, she only does their own laundry without asking me whether I could do theirs, my mother-in-law said, as if it were a given. She began complaining about her daughter-in-law. Do they really plan to live here? This is my family home built by us, the Owen family. After my mother-in-law left the room, I tried to wake Wayne, who was sleeping in the living room. However, he only groaned and didn't wake up easily. Unable to stand it any longer, I went back to my room on the third floor and contacted my brother-in-law. Yes, I've heard about it from Wayne. What do you mean you've heard? I haven't been explained anything. This is the Owen house. It's not appropriate for the Hanson family to live here. Brother, please help. Suddenly being handed laundry, I panicked. If I don't kick them out soon, they'll probably stay forever, I said. I asked for help, but my brother-in-law simply replied, talk to Wayne, but it seems the situation between Anna and Mother is beyond repair, and she herself doesn't want to live here. That can't be. I'm sorry, but please try to handle it. Wait just a minute. Even as I insisted it was my parents' house, I was ignored, and the conversation was unilaterally ended and the call cut off. Troubled, I went back to the second floor to Wayne. Mom, my mother had just woken up and was tidying up the mess in the living room. I'll take care of this, so why don't you go wash up and refresh yourself, Mom? Originally, I had intended for Wayne to clean up, but ultimately I ended up dealing with it. After sending my mother to the washroom, I started doing the dishes. when suddenly Wayne woke up and began rummaging through the refrigerator behind me. I washed my hands and brought up yesterday's issue again. "Did you really throw away my father's belongings?" "Yes, I threw them away," Wayne replied. "You did this without consulting our family at all." "Are you aware of that? It's really selfish." "Well, there's no need to keep things that aren't used." Is this a difference in values, or was his relationship with my father just formal? My mother and I had wanted to keep my father's belongings as they were for at least a while, but Wayne had disposed of them easily. No matter how much I explain, it seems he will not understand. Though I am almost giving up on getting Wayne to understand, thinking of my mother's sadness weighs heavily on me. I can't continue living with someone who throws away others' belongings without permission. I need to think about the future. Despite warning him about the future, Wayne remained silent with a sullen face. "By the way, I contacted your brother earlier." "What? Why?" "I asked him to come pick them up. I told him we can't live together because this is my parents' house." "Listen to me." I relayed the conversation with his brother, but Wayne frowned and yelled, "Don't belittle my parents. They have nowhere to return." "There's no such thing as having nowhere to return. They can go back to your brother's house, but they can't go back there. Then they should rent somewhere else to live. This is our parents' house." The argument continued, and Wayne cut off the conversation and left without listening to the rest of what I had to say. As he left, he said, "Always about your parents' house. Your parents' house. This is also my house. Indeed, this house is also a home to Wayne." By continuously emphasizing that it's our parents' house, I might be making him feel uncomfortable. However, my parents never accepted money from us, even when we tried to contribute monthly. "You will eventually support this house on your own." With this statement, we were essentially directed to save money. Considering how much she has thought about this, I wanted my mother to be the top priority. I hoped he would refrain from taking unilateral actions just because it's our house. I struggled to figure out how to make him understand while I was agonizing over my feelings toward Wayne. My mother returned to the second-floor living room. She had probably heard our conversation on the stairs. My mother spoke to me. "If they can't find a place to go, it's okay for them to stay here until they do. Your parents-in-law are also part of your family." "Luna, see, your mother understands too." Wayne argued back, empowered by her words. I was irritated by his manner of speaking, but acquiesced to my mother's suggestion. "Please find a new home." "Okay, all right." No matter how many times I asked, Wayne's responses remained vague. I was worried whether he'd really look for a new place, but I needed to make sure this one thing was upheld. Then, 3 days later, something happened. Really, I couldn't hide my joy during the phone call. I had almost given up thinking the items were discarded, but I was delighted when I contacted a junk removal service and confirmed that my father's belongings were still intact. After hanging up, I immediately contacted a storage facility I had been researching. I had arranged to store my father's belongings there during my parents-in-law's stay, as they might get thrown out again if left at home. Before leaving, I stopped by my mother's room on the first floor, but she wasn't there. I wanted to tell her about the safely stored items, but I couldn't find her anywhere, so I went to the living room on the second floor. "Oh, Luna," my tipsy mother-in-law greeted me with a smile. Despite it being early, she was already heavily intoxicated. "Are you going out?" Wayne, still in his work clothes, was drinking in the living room. The usually tidy second-floor living room was now cluttered with empty cans and dishes. I had repeatedly told my parents-in-law to use the third-floor living room, but they were still on the second floor. Today, I couldn't sense any intention from them to look for the new residence they had promised. I called Wayne into the hallway to talk. "Why won't your parents go up to the third floor?" "They say their legs hurt, but Mom is on the second floor." "Their legs hurt, so it's even more difficult for them to go up to the third floor." "It would be resolved if your mother would go up to the third floor instead." No matter how much I complain, Wayne always seems to override my opinions. Exhausted from the busy and contentious environment, I changed the subject to ask about my mother's whereabouts. What? She went to a net cafe. I was surprised by Wayne's answer. Yes, with a friend. Your mom is really youthful. She handles the computer just fine and might come back late tonight. Wayne seemed impressed by my mother's youth, but I couldn't imagine her spending time in a net cafe. It wasn't strange since she frequently uses computers, but why would she go to a net cafe then? It hit me. My mother usually uses the desktop computer on the second floor. Since it's not portable, she might be feeling inconvenienced. Hey, can we let my mom use the second floor? The second floor has the computer. There's no TV in the first floor bedroom, and it seems like my mother has a lot of spare time. Even when I asked, Wayne looked displeased. I've already told your mom about the pain in my parents' legs, and she said it's fine for us to use this space, so I think there's no problem. There's definitely a problem. This is the Owen family. Why are you driving us out and letting your family relax? I often feel that Wayne lacks understanding. The reason my mother went to the net cafe was probably that she wanted her own space. Saying she went with a friend was clearly a lie. I suspected it was a statement made to consider Wayne's feelings. Even so, Wayne seemed to conveniently believe my mother's story. You always think only of your parents. My parents don't know anyone here and can't meet friends. Since your mother has friends nearby, it should be fine for her to go out during the day. If she doesn't like it, she can go to the third floor. He shouted in anger. Wayne's expression at that moment was terrifying, unlike anything I had seen before, and I was left speechless. Is this what it means for affection to cool in an instant? I was more surprised by my own calmness than by the anger. I truly felt that we could no longer live together. I left the house without saying anything. Before going to pick up my father's things, I stopped by the lawyer's office. In the evening, I visited my mother's room on the first floor and handed her the keys to the storage locker. I'll store these temporarily, but I promise to put everything back where it belongs, I said sincerely. My mother listened quietly, placed her hand on my shoulder, and made me look up. Luna, you shouldn't disregard his parents. I might leave this world at any time, and once I'm gone, won't your family only consist of them? Since you're not strong, you might need to rely on them, right? My mother smiled gently, but I couldn't nod in agreement. I was completely fed up with Wayne's behavior since my father's death. I strongly wished to end my relationship with my thoughtless parents-in-law. Quickly, I pulled out the documents I had received at the office from my bag. I'm filing for divorce, I said without hesitation. My mother silently stared at the divorce papers. After a few minutes of silence, my mother sighed and started talking. Your father never took any money from you either, did he? That's right. Telling you to save wasn't just for your future. This was new information to me. My mother leaned in close, making sure her voice wouldn't carry outside, and whispered, we set things up so that even if we're gone, you, Luna, with little income and weak health, can stand up to Wayne. Of course, it's best to get along, but life is unpredictable. After the divorce, this house is set up to be yours. That was the idea. The house should support your life with the government payments and your income. It should be enough. For a brief while, my mother's gaze softened and then became icy. You're getting a divorce, Fawn. She grabbed up the smartphone that was resting on the bed as she was speaking. She picked up the phone, and I could see the small vibration sound I'd noticed while discussing the storage unit. I gave her a bewildered look as she showed me the screen. One by one, notifications from a social media app appeared. Mum. Despite my ignorance of the circumstances, my mother grinned happily and remarked, it went viral. I showed Wayne the divorce documents early one morning a few days later. So you give in to divorce every time something doesn't work out. Okay, let's part ways. However, I'm selling this house in exchange, Wayne stated. He grabbed the divorce papers from me in a hurry. He is unable to sell this residence, nevertheless. My name is on the house's registration. We changed the name from my mother's to mine at first, since we were planning for the future. Wayne remarked sarcastically, "Ah, if I hadn't married you, maybe I could have had children, but I didn't feel anything. I am aware of Wayne's impending fate. Ascertain that you have no regrets." I said it in a hushed tone, watching Wayne handle things aggressively and expressing his anger. "What?" Just as I answered his query, the doorbell rang. I started doing the wash instead of answering the doorbell, since I knew my mother was waiting outside. My mother's animated voice called out, "Over here," from downstairs, and there was also the sound of multiple moving trucks. Wayne walked downstairs to find out what was going on. My parents-in-law started yelling, and soon Wayne's terrified voice could be heard. In order to return my parents-in-law's possessions to my brother-in-law's home, my mother had contacted the movers. "Please stop, Mother. Why are you relocating people's possessions without their consent?" My mother interrupted him sharply and retorted, "You were the first to dispose of things without permission," as if she had heard him coming. My mother remained silent as Wayne threw away my father's possessions, fearing what would occur when we were gone. "I won't put up with it any longer if you're getting divorced." My mother made the decision to eject my parents-in-law from the house right away after making that statement. When Wayne was attempting to halt the movers, he received a call and yelled, "Wait, what news?" He was probably talking to a buddy when he picked up the phone and frantically turned on the TV. The morning TV show that was displayed on the screen generated news articles from posts on social media. "Is that our house? Wait." Wayne was astounded to see our house on television. The idea that my mother has been using social media for this purpose astounds me. Memories of the evening I announced my divorce flashed back. At that time, it became viral. The screen of the social media app that is currently being displayed on TV is what my mother had shown me. Posts like, "My daughter's husband is causing problems," could be found there. We could end up losing the house. Following that post, my mother's tweets attracted a lot of attention and led to demands for interviews from prominent newspapers. My mother had not planned to take part in interviews at first, but she changed her mind as soon as she found out that I was divorcing. The tale progressed because of her favorable response to the offers of interviews. My mother said in a quiet voice, "Now Wayne will also find it hard to stay here, won't he?" As I was fixated on the TV screen that showed our house. Her eyes shone in that instant, like though they were full of joy. I gave Wayne's pallid face a chilly look. He definitely worried that his employer would find out. People will inevitably try to find out who owns the mansion once information about it spreads due to the immense influence of the media. Wayne, my in-laws, and our family eventually appeared in a number of widely shared online photos. Forced with a last-minute decision, Wayne quickly filed for divorce, packed up his things, and left the house. Peace eventually returned to our house as a result. I'm happy that I was able to securely put my father's possessions back in the storeroom. At the moment, my mother and I coexist amicably. However, the day may come when I'm left here by myself. Nevertheless, I'm resolved to treasure this home and will always be grateful to my parents.